Muhsin Mahadi on Al-Farabi's summary on Plato laws. I will read the introduction part before he go into the book itself. A short note on the title: the summary of Plato laws can be understood as two in two senses. On the one hand, Plato laws might refer to the laws Plato legislated. And on the second hand, it could mean the book of Plato, the laws, or laws. In the original Arabic, from as far as I know, that this duality remain either because it's not saying in an indirect manner which of the senses does Al-Farabi refer to, or at least by the title given to it till today. On the text. Where the thing to which man excels, all other animal, is the faculty that enables him to distinguish among the affairs and matter with which he deals, and that he observes, in order to know which of them is useful, so as to prefer and obtain it, while rejecting and avoiding what is useless. And that faculty only emerges from potentiality into actuality through experience. Experience means reflection on the particular instances of a thing, and from what one finds in these particular instances, passing judgment upon its universal characteristic. Therefore, whoever acquires more of these experiences is more excellent and perfect in being human. However, the one guided by experience may err in what he does and experiences, so that he conceives the thing to be in a different state than it really is. There are many causes of error. These have been enumerated by those who discuss the art of sophistry. Of all people, the wise are the ones who have acquired experiences that are true and valid. Nevertheless, all people are naturally disposed to pass a universal judgment after observing only a few particular instances of the thing. Universal here means that which cover all the particular instances of the thing, as well as their duration in time, so that once it is observed that an individual has done something in a certain way on a number of occasions, it is just that lie does that thing in that way all the time. For instance, when someone has spoken truth on one, two, or number of occasions, people are naturally disposed to judge that as is simply truthful. Similarly, when someone lies, again, when someone is observed on a number of occasions to act with courage or as a coward, or to give evidence of any other moral habit, he is judged to be so wholly and always. Whereas those who are wise know this aspect of people's natural disposition. Sometimes they have repeatedly shown themselves as possessing a certain character, so that people will judge that this is how they always are. Then afterward they would act in a different manner, which went unnoticed by people who suppose they were acting as they had formerly. It is related, for example, that a certain abstemious ascetic was known for his probity, propriety, and asceticism and worship, and having become famous for this. He feared the tyrannical sovereign and decided to run away from his city. The sovereign's command went out to search for and arrest him wherever he was found. He couldn't leave from any of the city's gate and was apprehensive lest he fall into the hands of the sovereign man. So he went and found a dress worn by vagabonds, put it on, carried a cymbal in his hand, and pretended to be drunk. Accompaniment of the cymbal of his. The gatekeeper said to him, "Who are you?" I am so and so, the ascetic," he said, jokingly. The gatekeeper supposed he was poking fun at him, and he didn't interfere with him, so he saved himself without having lied in what he said. Our purpose in making this introduction is this: the wise Plato didn't feel free to reveal and uncover every kind of knowledge for all people. Therefore, follow the practice of using symbols, riddles, and obscurity and difficulty, so that the knowledge wouldn't fall into the hands of those who do not deserve it and be deformed, or fall into the hand of someone who doesn't know its worth or who uses it improperly. In this, he was right. Once he knew and became certain that he had become famous for this practice, and that it was widespread among people that expresses everything he intended to say through symbols, he would sometimes turn to the subject he intended to discuss and state it openly and literally. But whoever reads or hears his discussion supposes that it is symbolic and that he intends something different from what is stated openly. This notion is one of the secrets of his books. Moreover, no one is able to understand what is stated openly and what is stated symbolically or in riddles unless he is trained in that art itself. And no one will be able to distinguish the two unless he is skilled in the discipline that is being discussed. This is how discussion proceeds in the laws. In the present book, we have resolved upon extracting the notions to which he alluded in the book and grouping them together, following the order of the discourses it contains, so that the present book may become an aid to whomever want to know that book, and sufficient for whomever cannot bear the hardship of study and reflection. God accommodate what is right. A few interesting notes on the matter. Firstly, Al-Farabi seems to say something that is less obvious in today's customs of reading as well. It's, for example, when we today we read in Plato the Socratic character, we often the reader often learn to understand that everything Socrates says as ironical, or things that Socrates says as ironical when maybe they are simply as they are. So something that is not is something that is, as a state, you can recognize only when you have studied and trained in the art of sophistry. This is bringing to another point. In the start, he says valid. It is stated that the causes of that on what caused the errors, they have been enumerated by those who discuss the art of sophistry. In the original Arabic text, the term he used to art, it is the same as the term he used for when he states when he states that someone who understands, in order to understand it, you need to be trained in the art itself. This notion is one of the what I'm citing here. This notion is one of the secrets of his books. Moreover, no one is able to understand what he states openly and what he states in Berkeley or in riddles unless he is trained in the art itself. This means that in order to, this might allude that what the Socratic character itself, it's a sophist in itself. Some things that some point out, some agree and some not, but it's an interesting notion nonetheless. What more? The distinction he means to put out here seems to be between what being said and the action, and that the man will be judged by the action itself. So, in doing so, it could learn a certain reading on the Platonic text. So how character conveyed. For example, it is common. People commonly think that a good point that I think that might fit here. It's in Menon's before Socrates will go on to speak with the young slave. He seems rather tired from the discussion and a bit given up. Or one might allude from that he is even angry on the tyrannical thought that conveyed through Menon when it's implied on the political life, that there are many truths and not one, while in the polis people are united by something. So it might land a different reading from that. But when doing such jump, it needs to be cautious. And of course, Plato is far more sophisticated writer in itself. So I would say that it needs to be done with care as well. And each book would be treated in its own right.